Um, I'm going to be reading a little bit about a character. And yes, there's no camera right now. I don't want to be filmed while reading this. But tomorrow I might do another person. But so I'm on Five Nights at Freddy's wiki right now. And we're going to be reading about Crying Child. His real name is unknown. But he has some alias names. So he has Crying Child or Cece. He's also named as BV or Bite Victim, also called Brother, Baby. He apparently was called Little Man by all three bullies. Some theorized names were Evan McNally, Evan Afton, Dave Afton. A movie universe theorization was Garrett Schmidt. Runaway Kid was another theorized one. A sobbing child, a little boy, the boy, child crying. And some other theorized were Golden Freddy and Fredbear. His occupation is he's just a child. His first appearance was shown in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Some appearance about him is his skin is a palish color. Eye color is unknown, but they're thinking that from Encyclopedia he has brown eyes. But from the mini game, it's unknown what his eye color actually is. His hair color is medium brown or an auburn brown. His hairstyle is short. He's human. He's male. Type of shirt type is he's sleeveless. In the mini game, he could be seen wearing a sleeveless shirt. And then Encyclopedia says it's just a regular t-shirt. Shirt color is black or gray. Shirt design, it has 2 horizontal gray stripes. Bottom clothing type is usually just shorts. The color of those shorts are blue. And some accessories that he may wear on himself is band-aids. It could be a little theory because of all the bullying his brother put him through. So relationships without him is that his family. Michael Afton is his older brother. William Afton is his father. Mrs. Afton, she's unnamed. We have no name for her. And Elizabeth Afton is his sister. So some friends is he has Fredbear Plush, which is his best friend. The plushies that he owns. And then some theorized ones about who he could be friends with is Cassidy and Charlotte Emily. His enemies are Michael Afton, or Foxy Bro, his brother. He's a bully. Ralph is a theorized one, and Henry Emily is a theorized one. I don't know why Henry would be kind of an enemy against CC, but we never know. Some additional information. We're not going to go into game appearances and book appearances. So we're going to go, right? So we're going to go to age. So he was between the age of 6 and 11. He was born between 1973 and 1976. He's deceased. He died in 1983. Cause of death was a fatal head wound from being bit by Fredbear at Fredbear's Family Diner. So his last words before the bite of 83 was, "No, I don't want to go," which is really sad. This article is for the Crying Child from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. If you're looking for the one from FNAF 1, 2, or 3, this is kind of like through the Five Nights at Freddy's wiki. So if you want to look up the Crying Child, you can go through there. So he's a main protagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 and the end of night mini games. He's the victim of Bite of 83. The Crying Child is a very timid little boy with a deep fear of animatronics. He is seen crying all the time due to his fear, especially when prompted by his older brother, who relentlessly bullies and torments him. One of his tactics is to wear a foxy mask to jump scare him in the most unexpected places. Because his older brother did this very often, every day, his actions significantly contributed to increasing his fear of the animatronics. With 5 days left into the party, when the mini-games take place, his anxiety had escalated to where he would cry non-stop every day. Even harder if his older brother tormented him again. Around the same time, most of his peers treat him differently, noticing him always crying every day with the Freddy bully, frequently finding him weeping under the farthest party table from the animatronics. On the day of his birthday party at Fredbear's Family Diner, the older brother and his friends plan to scare him by forcefully carrying him towards the performing Springlock animatronics. He continues to scream and begs them not to, yet they ignore him, instead saying that he wants to get closer. Eventually, the bullies escalated the situation by shoving him inside Fredbear's mouth, knowing it will scare him the most. Amidst squirming and loud wails of terror, the Fredbear animatronic then suddenly bites down and crushes the crying child's skull and neck. So, appearance in the games is he's a small boy with medium brown hair, dark eyes, and pale skin, wearing a black sleeveless shirt with 2 gray stripes, blue shorts, and brown shoes. He is seen crying nonstop throughout all the FNF 4 minigames, with his sprite's head moving up and down to mimic sobbing, and flashes of tears streaming down his face, hence the name. Personality, not much is really said or shown about CC's personality, but observing his behavior in FNF 4, he's clearly seen to be a very timid and scared individual. He's essentially called a crybaby in-game, and in case, the term is quite very literal, or in his case, the term is quite very literal. His constant crying and fear stem largely from his intense fear of animatronics, which is further exasperated by relentless scaring inflicted by his older brother. A misconception surrounding his personality is at first he could be seen as a shy and quiet child, but his behavior reveals that he is crying more than just verbalizing. Likely due to him constantly worrying about when his older brother would terrorize him during the day. This is clear when the Fredbear plush in one of the minigames states, "He won't stop until you find him," which adds to him being even scared more. The crying child's treatment by his peers and the older brother's friends paint him as a very scared and very weepy individual, as they call him a baby. He's also seen to not be brave at all, as seen in the Night 3 minigame, where he completely lacked the courage to even walk past the animatronics to get help. Instead, he would break down and collapse on the floor sobbing. Despite his older brother's torment, the crying child still loved the animatronic characters in the Fredbear and Friends TV show, so much where he has his own plushies in his room. This is confirmed when in one of the mini-games, if he walks over to those plushies, he says, "These are my friends," which is so adorable. But moving on, so this is a little storyline for him. So in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 mini-games, each mini-game depicts events during the days leading up to the crying child's birthday, with text preceding the mini-games indicating X days until the party. So again, he died on his birthday, so this is kind of like a build up to what happens before he passed, before the birthday. So pre-night number 1, the crying child is locked, crying in his bedroom with his plushies, approaching them. He states, "These are my friends." After banging on the door several times, he gives up and helplessly collapses down into weeping as the Fredbear plush states, "Tomorrow is another day." Night 1, the crying child walks around his house, being followed by a seemingly teleporting Fredbear plush. When approaching the TV in the room to the left, the older brother, wearing his boxy mask, pops out and jump scares him, which caused him to collapse onto the floor and continuously cry. Like in the first mini-game, Fredbear's text will say, "Tomorrow is another day." Night 2, the crying child has been left behind at Fredbear's family diner while crying under a table. The plus urges him to leave. Upon heading right, the child is blocked by an employee wearing the Fredbear suit. The Fredbear plush instructs him, saying, "It's too late. Hurry the other way and find someone who will help you. You know what will happen if he catches you." Heading left, he sees shadows of Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, and the Fredbear plush says, "We can find help if you can get past them. You have to be strong." At this point, the CC can go back to the previous scene and catch a glimpse of an interaction in the back through a set of double doors that had been closed before. A purple man places a Spring Bonnie head on another individual, after which he closes the door. Heading left again and advancing further, the person wearing the Fredbear suit appears at the other end of the room. Due to the crying child completely lacking the courage to even walk past the animatronics, it prompted him to collapse and burst out crying while hiding under a table. At which point a message will appear stating, "Tomorrow's another day." Night 3 then starts. For Night 3, the crying child is in the Fredbear's restaurant again, sobbing, curled up under a table. The voice of the Fredbear plush urges him to leave this time. Attempting to go to the left, will have Fredbear halt them and say, "No, don't you remember what you saw? The exit is the other way. Hurry and leave." After exiting the restaurant, the child goes home, interacting with the other children. When he reaches home, upon reaching the plushies, he repeats, "These are my friends." The older brother jump scares him again from under his bed, this time, which again causes him to collapse onto the floor and continuously sob like a baby. After being scared, the plush reminds him, "Tomorrow is another day." So what we're seeing is that it's just a continuous cycle until the time of the party. You know, he's gonna be at Fazbear's. Fredbear's. He's gonna be there. You know, he's gonna be scared of the animatronics. Fredbear, his plush is gonna tell him to leave. He's too scared to go past the animatronics. And then as soon as he gets home, Michael scares him. So for night 4, the crying child is locked in a spare parts room of Fredbear family's diner. There are various unsettling animatronic parts and heads on the shelves and tables around him, including a slumped, headless yellow suit with something sticking out of his neck hole, which can be interpreted as wires or stomach or someone's hair. As the child sobs, he yells, "Please let me out, please." The child then helplessly falls over into a fetal position. "Please let me out." This is night 5. This minigame starts with 0 days until the party. The player... My thing reloaded. Let me read again where it left me. The minigame opens with the scene of the crying child surrounded by the older brother and 3 of his friends wearing masks of the original 4 animatronics as a terrorizing tactic. One of the bullies tells his brother, "Wow, your brother is kind of a baby, isn't he?" As they stare down at the crying child crying, his brother replies, "It's hilarious. Why don't we help him get a closer look? He will love it." The crying child goes, "No, please." His brother then says, "Come on, guys, let's give this little man a lift. He wants to get up all close and personal." The bullies then forcefully pick up the crying child and carry him closer to the animatronics, laughing as they do it. "No, I don't want to go," he shouts. His brother ignores him and refutes it with, "You heard the little man. He wants to get even closer," laughing as they bring him closer and closer to the spring lock animatronics. The crying child is now crying intensely as they arrive at the stage. Overwhelmed by being too close to the animatronics and being rendered helpless in the situation, his brother, not noticing this, then thoughtlessly came up with an idea. "Hey guys, I think this little man said he wants to give Fredbear a big kiss." He then counted 1, 3, 1, 2, and shoved his head all the way inside Fredbear's mouth, up until neck area or torso. The group then laughs as they watch the crying child screaming and crying so hard in extreme terror. Moments later, Fredbear's mechanical jaw snaps shut, biting the child. The crying child goes limp, and the bullies stop laughing. He appears to be fatally injured and is presumably taken to the hospital. So this is after this happens. After the bite, the player will be taken to a screen with the crying child and Fredbear plush in a dark void, accompanied by piano music. The other plushes from the boys' room will be in the back. The brother says, "Can you hear me?" "I don't know if you can hear me. I'm sorry." The Fredbear plush will reply, "You're broken." After this, the headless Foxy plush will fade out. "We are still your friends." Then Chica will disappear. "Do you still believe that?" Bonnie will then fade out. "I'm still here." Finally, Freddy's plush will fade from view. Then the Fredbear plush will say, "I will put you back together." After this, Fredbear will fade from view, in which the boy will break down on the floor and cry even harder. Shortly after he starts to weep intensely, the boy begins to fade as well, accompanied by the sound similar to that of a heart monitor flattening. After this, the player will be taken back to the title screen and awarded a 2nd star. So this is kind of about this is a little trivia about CC that people might not know. And then maybe after this, since I kind of only did like 14 minutes of a video, I might go into Michael a little bit. Because, yeah, Michael, reading this, really evil brother, yeah? But I kind of want to read a little bit into him. So, some trivia about CC is a kind of misconception surrounding this character is that many fans see him always holding the Fredbear plush in his hand as his own teddy bear. In reality, nowhere in any of the lore findings of Freddy's had him actually carrying the Fredbear plush. In the F and F4 minigames, the plush constantly follows him and guides him, but it's never really shown to be on him in any of the crying child's canon appearances, but rather a figure that follows him and is more guiding and comforting. This is theorized to be William talking to him, rather than a friend that he plays with. The crying child is the shortest human character in the entire 4th game. The identity of the crying child was not yet then, and may likely never will be, confirmed. indefinite details still remain vague. There is still a raging debate over their identity to this day. Two current major theories as to the identity of the crying child / 83 bite victim is either him being Michael Afton, a Mike victim, or the younger brother of Michael Afton, Mike Bro. The Five Nights at Freddy's character encyclopedia states that the crying child is the protagonist of FNAF's 4 night segments. Though seemingly already implied by FNAF 4's gameplay, confirmation of this fact has been a continuous detail between Mike Bro and Mike victim theorists. So there's some arguments about it. So the crying child bite of 83 victim is thought to be represented in the Five Nights at Freddy's survival logbook. Through edited texts and ciphers, repeated patterns become replaced with different words. Some theorists have interpreted the codes and ciphers in the logbook to be messages to the night guard from an outside influence such as Colton Freddy. This reading supports Mike Bro theory interpretations, as the messages are taken to be messages from his little brother to his older sibling, Michael Afton, or his another name for himself is Mike Schmidt. In CC's page of the logbook, in the section Crunch Time, it states a final sequence implies that he died from his injuries. It should be noted that the crying child was found on CC's encyclopedia page. Multiple interpretations of the logbook has been presented, though some believe it doesn't have a definite conclusion. Something else. I kind of feel like everything else on here is not too important. So we're gonna go into Michael now. I kind of want to read on Michael. So we're gonna go about Michael now. So let's try to find a little bit about Michael. I'm gonna go through a different website and kind of just read about Michael Afton lore, because I kind of wanna. Okay, so we have let's see, which one should I choose? This one's fandom. This one is probably canon. So, okay, it's fandom as well. Whatever. But we're gonna just go about him. So, this is a little bit about him. I want to know more about his past than his future, but we're gonna just read what we can find, and then I'm gonna find something better and read about it next time. I'm really trying to get into my Afton family phase, so if you guys want another character for me to read information about, please put it in the comments. Or if you want me to do another show or a fandom about a character and read about them, let me know. So Michael Afton, he's a human, obviously. Formerly a human, now he's a corpse. He's a male. His age is unknown, but we know he's an adult. Skin color is like formerly when he was a teenager, it was light, and now it's purple because he's a corpse. His hair color is brown like his father. His eye color is blue formerly, and it's white because of his because he's a corpse now. But some little fandom things is that they would rather him keep his blue eye color and then have like part white, part blue, which I kind of find cool. But sticking to normal things, it'd be mainly white because he's dead. But some family members we know is William Afton and Elizabeth Afton, which states here, but we already know he has more siblings. Yeah, he has CC as well. But this is could be talking about while he's still alive, family members that are still alive, because well, yeah, I don't think I found the right website, but I'm probably gonna find a better one that explains more in detail about Michael. So job description, we know he's a maintenance worker at Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. He's also retired. We also know he was a night guard. So some other information is his other names were X Benedict or Mike. So we know Michael Afton, also nicknamed as X Benedict, is by the hand unit, is the main protagonist of the Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. He's also the eldest son of Fazbear's Entertainment co-founder and serial killer William Afton, and the older brother of Elizabeth Afton. As seen from the real ending, the reflection of a simple black silhouette in a dirty mirror is all that can be seen. In the custom night minigames, it's shown that he has a fairly light skin tone, darkish brown hair that seems to be combed over, and blue eyes. He also wears a purple long sleeve shirt, blue pants, and brown shoes. Like his father William, he appears to have a elongated smile, although it appears more friendly and warm rather than his father's sadistic and unnerving smile. After being reanimated and becoming a living corpse, he appears to be physically dark purple due to his skin rotting. He also seems to have lost his nose, hair, and almost all of his bottom and front teeth. His eyeballs seem to be missing from his now dark and empty sockets. The only sign of life from them is the two small white illuminating pupils, similar to the ones that animatronics sometimes possess. Personality is, during his adulthood in Sister Location, Michael is shown to have matured greatly and changed as a person. An example being when he returned to his job as Circus Baby's entertainment and rental every night of the week, despite the danger, which Hand Unit mentions, implying that he is extremely brave. This is further shown in the non-canonical fake ending when Ennard breaks into his house. In spite of that, he continued to eat his popcorn, unfazed by this revelation. He also seems to have a cultured taste in entertainment, as he enjoys watching soap operas and dramas on television, such as The Immortal and Restless, as he spent nearly every night watching the program and even made popcorn for the event. He is shown to be a friendly and popular person, as all of his neighbors happily waved to him at the end of night mini games. In the survival logbook, Michael is shown to be sarcastic, making various comments about Fazbear Entertainment lack of safety or care for its employees. The book also shows that Michael is paranoid while on the job, suggesting he sleeps with one eye open during his night shifts. When asked why he wanted the job on page 6, he states that it's for the free pizza, implying that his reasons for working are fairly simple. He also seems to enjoy snacking on food, which is shown later on in the book, where he expresses that eating increases his happiness. When asked what he would like for this end of the week bonus, he circles the money basket with emphasis, meaning that like anyone else, he would have rather had a basket of cash than any other meaningless prize basket, showing that Michael had his priorities straight and is a responsible person. However, in the fake ending of his Sister Location, he chooses to accept the exact Butters basket in spite of its uselessness, showing that Michael is a grateful person and can be content with what is given to him, even when he doesn't get what he wants. There are multiple scribbles in the book drawn by Michael, implying that he enjoys drawing and is extremely talented at it. And it's implied in the book that Michael is an extremely hard worker who is desperate for cash in order to make ends meet, which is why it's also stated that Michael desires to take a tropical vacation. Michael may or may not have a flair for business in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, as his choices are influenced by the player. It's seen in the book that Michael has a very bad habit of chewing gum, implying that he's a very anxious person who gets quite stressed at times. Mood. Same. But to his credit, Michael states that he wants to get his habit under control, showing a need to better himself. He may also be annoyed by incompetence, as in the logbook, he shows frustration that he is the only one faced by the unsettling occurrences in his job. In his monologue during the Sister Location custom night ending cutscene, Michael reveals that the main reason he applied for the job at Circus Baby's entertainment and rental was because of his father's request to find and free his little sister Elizabeth, whose spirit has possessed the mascot animatronic of the facility, Circus Baby, implying that he was close to her before her death and has deeply missed her, as well as even being brave enough to go into a facility with murderous animatronics to rescue her. He also seemed happy when saying that Elizabeth was free now, further showing his affection for her. He speaks in a rather gentle, yet brooding tone of voice, in stark contrast to his father's more sinister tone of speaking. Michael also shows sadness at the fact that he is now a monster unable of being seen in public, forcing him to hide in the shadows. Michael, like many people in the series, potentially seeks revenge against William for everything he has done, as he stated that the only purpose he had left in life is to come find him. This could mean that he wanted to kill him. So this is a little history on the gameplay. So on night 1, Michael got a job as a technician at Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental, and Hand Unit greets him. Then showing him how to check on the animatronics, and if they are not in their proper places, he must electrocute them to put them back on their stages. Michael successfully electrocutes Ballora and Funtime Foxy, but couldn't do the same to Circus Baby, since she wasn't on her stage. Michael, during his time off, watches episode 1 of his favorite soap opera to show The Immortal and The Restless on television while enjoying popcorn. On night 2, Michael checks on Ballora and Funtime Foxy, but when he checks on Baby, the control shock doesn't work, causing Hand Unit to shut down the system. After this, Baby starts talking to Michael and questions why he's here. She tells him to hide under the desk. After surviving Biddy Bab, Michael slowly and carefully crawls through the Ballora gallery. Thankfully avoiding Ballora, he then manages to get to the breaker room where he boots all systems while playing audio to keep Funtime Freddy at bay. After returning home from his shift, Michael once again watches The Immortal and The Restless while enjoying popcorn. On night 3, Michael returns checking on Ballora and Funtime Foxy. He then runs through the Funtime Auditorium while avoiding Funtime Foxy. Michael arrives at Parts and Services where he performs a repair on Funtime Freddy and traps Bonbon to get Freddy's second power module. When he returns through the Funtime Auditorium, Funtime Foxy attacks him, knocking him unconscious. On night 4, we know Michael wakes up in a Springlock suit. Then Baby starts talking to him and explains that she kidnapped him in order to protect him from the other animatronics. Then 2 technicians enter the building and send Ballora to the scooping room where Michael is located. Then Michael witnessed how the scooper is used on Ballora. Afterwards, he survives an attack by Ballora's companions, the Minarinas. Michael enjoys popcorn and watches the second to last episode of The Immortal and The Restless before he starts his final shift. On night 5, Michael checks the stages only to see that the same 2 technicians from the night before had been killed, hanging dead on both the stages. He goes back through the Funtime Auditorium and into Parts and Services to see a lifeless circus baby. She explains that she is faking it and that something bad happened that day. He then enters a sequence of random numbers on a keyboard that opens out of Baby's left center and faceplate. After entering the access code, Michael receives a chip from her upper armpit so that she can communicate with him after they have picked it up. Following this, Michael sends Baby to the scooping room. She then instructs him to return to the Funtime Auditorium and follow her instructions. Once Michael completes Baby's instructions, she reveals that his help was actually part of a plan to use him as a host body to escape the rental facility. Then the scooper is used on Michael, killing him. So we know about that. This is what happened, but we're trying to find stuff about his past self, So let's look up teenage Michael Afton lore, We love Michael Afton, but we need to know more about him, So, here we go. Here's something interesting. So we got something about, so this might be a little bit fandom, but I don't care, because I want the drama. So this is a content warning, and it has mentions of abuse and neglect, and mentions of smoking and alcohol. So much of this is 100% about William abusing, but we all know William was a abusive and neglected father. So we're gonna go. So this is like a role play teaser. Oh. Okay, here we go. This is basic info on Michael. So his full name is Michael Terrence Afton. Nicknames, we have Mike, we have Mikey, we have Mikester, Elias or Foxy Bro. He was anywhere from the ages of 12 to 17, depending on the role play, though they headcanon him as being 13, almost 14 on the day of the bite. He's male, his pronouns are he, him. Sexuality, maybe bisexual, though he probably never really realizes it, because maybe in that time, it was 19, it was like the 80s. 70s to 80s. So I'm pretty sure sexualities weren't that, ignored. So yeah. So he was born July 13th, 1969. Okay, I guess 60s, 70s. He's a Cancer. His personality type is an ESTP, so that means extroverted, observant, thinking, and prospecting. Mental disorders, they think, is depression, depersonalization / derealization disorder, also PTSD following his mother's death. Place of birth was Abingdon, England. Current residence is Hurricane, Utah. Nationality is English. Ethnicity is Caucasian. Languages is English. Occupation he was a middle school student until 1983. And then high school student until 1987. So about appearance, we say height, he was about 5'4". Gets a growth spurt at about 15, though, and ends up at 5'10" by the age of 17. Weight, so they think he's around maybe 138 pounds. Again, this increases as he gets older. Body type, slim with some muscle definition. As a younger boy, his skin is quite tan due to all the time he spent outside. Hair, they think he had brown curtain bangs. Eyes blue. Scars, faint belt buckle scars on his back from after the bite, as well as any array of little nicks from escape as he goes on with his friends. Posture, he might usually slouch. usual outfit, aside from his iconic gray vest and blue shorts, Michael also likes to wear a variety of band and film t-shirts and blue baggy jeans with red trainers. As he gets older, around 15, he also leans more towards hoodies and phases out of his shorts for full-time jeans instead. So personality, some traits they think he might have is he's brave. So some people are afraid to take risks. Michael isn't one of those people. He has a distinct sense of bravery and doesn't really easily shy away. This courage has its downsides, though. Michael isn't exactly known for his sense of self-preservation. He's sociable. Michael prefers to spend his time with others, particularly his friends. However, with his charm and witty humor, he can get along with just about anyone. Socialization is his escape. He becomes restless without it. When he puts his mind to something, he really puts his mind to something. Michael doesn't give up where most others would and bounces back from hardship rather quickly. The only exceptions to this are the deaths of his family. He's physically fit. Before depression strikes, Michael is as fit as a fiddle. He spends most of his time outside playing football or biking around with his friends, and as a result is quite toned and has healthy skin. Unfortunately, this deteriorates over time along with his mental decline after the bite of 83. Here's some bad traits about him. He's defiant. Michael hates rules and feeling boxed in. During his younger years in particular, he constantly rebels against expectations, a habit that is additionally influenced by his delinquent friends. After the bite, though, he becomes more withdrawn and his defiance is less obtrusive. Bully. Like any older brother, Michael gets a kick out of picking on his siblings, especially his brother Evan. He goes too far at times because we don't know Cece's name, but they're gonna call him Evan. So we're just gonna go on like a fandom thing about Michael. This is kind of what they think of him. He goes too far at times, but it's not until after his mother's death that Michael really takes his bullying to the next level. His grief and anger leaves him emotionally confused, and the only way he can think to deal with this by taking it out on his frustration on Evan. His behavior is what eventually leads to the bite of 83. Him being impatient and impulsive. Michael doesn't like to wait around. He lives life at 100 miles an hour and doesn't tend to think before he acts. His impatience leads him to make short-sighted decisions without much regard for the consequences, hence the trouble he gets into at school with his father. Also, another trait that they think is bad for him is he's insecure. Like any teenager, Michael comes with the burden of insecurity, a trait that is only made worse by William's abuse and criticism. As a result, he can be easily swayed by his friends to do risky and immoral things in an attempt to seem cool. He also feels the need to put others down to feel better about himself. Some fears he might have is his dad, William, being seen as lame, abandonment issues, and goats. Never thought he'd be scared of goats. Some likes is they think he'd be more into modern 80s music, but particularly rock. I can see that. Football or soccer, as he's grown up calling it in America. Dogs, comic books, pizza, definitely. Chatting on the telephone for extended periods of time, and vegan out. Some dislikes is school, with the exception of PE, vegetables, being lectured, and being ignored. Some habits they think he might have is he has a tendency to engage in antisocial behavior with his friends, including doing graffiti art, shoplifting, smoking, and trespassing in abandoned buildings. Occasionally drinks as well when they get their hands on booze, bites his nails, speaks before he thinks. Some hobbies I think he might have is soccer, roughhousing, guitar, but he's an amateur, illustration, though often gets embarrassed about it, arcade games, watching TV, and biking. So this is his relationships. So this is with his father, who's alive. So this is kind of like before all the deaths kind of happened, so they're not going to say deceased yet. So Michael's relationship with his father is really strained. He's always been the scapegoat, the troublemaker, the slacker. William prefers to ignore him when he can, and this neglect leads Michael pinning for fatherly affection. Affection that William simply doesn't have. So what's the next best way to get his attention? Acting out. Michael does it almost constantly. As a result, he is struck, beaten, and criticized, but even after being subdued, he never seems to learn. This long-term abuse leads Michael to hold resentment for his father, which clashes confusingly with the love he still has for him. This is his mother. They're going to name her Caroline Afton. She's deceased. She died April 1983, so the year of the bite as well. The year. So thankfully, Michael had a normal mother. Before she passed, she was his safe haven. Sure, sometimes she annoyed him with her nagging about chores and her chitting when he used bad language, but it was only following her death that Michael realized just how wonderful she was. She would comfort him, cook dinner every night, watch him when he showed her his football tricks. Even in the face of William's discipline, Caroline raised Michael with love and morals to counter. Her death left him completely beside himself. Evan, younger brother, deceased May 1983. Evan is a prime target for Michael's bullying. He breaks easily and seldom snitches. At first, Michael's treatment of his brother comes from a place of insecurity and even affection, and is widely lighthearted. After their mother's death, however, the motives shift, and Evan is the victim of his brother's bare anger and malice. And the best part, William doesn't care enough to stop him, so he can do it without consequence. That is so long as they're not annoying him with the amount of noise that comes from it. Deep down, Michael loves Evan to bits. And at times, he does feel guilty for treating him badly, but not enough. Elizabeth Afton, younger sister, deceased February 1985. Michael and Elizabeth have their squabbles from time to time. He likes to rile her up because of how easily she takes the bait, but also finds her dramatic personality somewhat endearing. Even so, there's another part of Michael that's jealous of his sister. Elizabeth is clearly William's favorite child. He has to choose his fights with her carefully, because unlike with Evan, William will usually defend her. Michael finds Elizabeth annoying, but loves her at the end of the day. So now we're going on to Henry Emily, a friend. He's alive. Henry's like a second father to Michael. He's known him practically his whole life. The man has been Michael's shoulder to cry on a number of times until he grew distant from the family after the missing children incident in 1985. We have Charlotte Emily, acquaintance, deceased, August 1983. Before she was mysteriously killed, Michael tolerated Charlie, but always found her kind of annoying, especially when she tried to play hero and defend Evan from his teasing. Seeing as she was Henry's kid, though, Michael had to hold off on bothering her too much. In general, he never really cared for her, just some stupid 6-year-old. That doesn't sound right. I love Charlie. Okay. Jacob Bonioli, this is his friend, alive. Jacob is Michael's best friend. They share each other's boldness and love to run amok in school. They poke fun at each other often, but it's all in good fun. Michael's unsurprisingly distraught when he and the others stop talking to him after the bite. Daniel, Freddie Bully, friend, alive. Dan is mean, obnoxiously mean. He's the most out of control of the group and is known for coming from a bad family, and out of trouble with the police all the time. But Michael likes him, well enough when he's not socking him in the jaw. The two are both competitive in nature and like to play sports, and Dan is also the group's primary source of booze and cigarettes. And behind all the tough bravado, he's proven to have a remorseful side to him as well. Lucas is the Chica bully, friend, alive. Lucas is the most cool and distant of the boys and often the voice of reason. He plays the drums, and sometimes Michael brings his guitar to his garage to jam out with him. They sound amateur, but they have fun. So this is a backstory on Michael. So Michael was born in Abingdon, Oxfordshire in 1969. He has no memory of Britain, though, as he moved to America the very next year in 1970. He was an only child for 5 years and didn't take kindly to Elizabeth's arrival in 1974. Growing up, Michael was always dubbed the problem child. He'd sneak into the biscuit tin, track dirt around the house, fight with his siblings, and more often than not, talk back to his parents. He was lucky enough to have a mother who dealt with his behavior fairly, but his father, not so much. As he got a bit older, Michael often found himself on the receiving end of William's belt, as well as his criticism. It was throughout the 70s and 80s when the psychological damage corporal punishment could do was not yet known, though even if it had been, William wouldn't have cared. By the time he entered his teenage years, Michael was full of insecurity and toxic masculinity. Don't act soft, men don't cry. Don't do this or people will think less of you. Even despite this, his healthy upbringing on Caroline's end, the boy was emotionally constipated. This showed obviously following Caroline's death in April of 1983. Michael, unsure of how to handle the loss of his mother, expressed his grief through anger and malice, and each time he cried, he did it in shame. Evan was the main victim of his frustration. What had once been light teasing turned into spiteful bullying. Bullying that was allowed by William to go on unchecked until it was taken too far. On Evan's 7th birthday, Michael killed his little brother in an accident with the animatronic at Fredbear's family diner. Fredbear's closed. Between severe beatings as punishment, Michael, William, and Elizabeth visited the comatose Evan in hospital until he passed away. Michael had lost 2 loved ones in the span of 2 months, and his friends had now distanced themselves from him as well. But this grief was different from before. This grief was his fault. Michael became a shell of the boy he once was. He didn't stomp around and yell anymore. He sat and sobbed. Only a couple of years went by before Elizabeth died, in an accident of some kind. William was vague about the details. By this point, Michael had noticed changes in his father's behavior. The man had always been distant, but nowadays, he seldom ever even saw him. Now at age 15, Michael found himself making his own dinner most nights, washing his own clothes, buying his own things. The pantry and fridge were always half empty. He got skinnier. He didn't go outside as often. He tried sometimes to get William's attention like he used to, but there was less energy behind it. He was depressed. When he was 16, Michael became the test subject of William's illusion discs, though he never really knew it. For about a week, he was tormented by the nightmare animatronics, which were in fact the original Freddy Fazbear animatronics with illusion discs attached to them. He fought them off each night, and when morning came, was gaslit into believing it was all a dream. He became extremely tired and began falling asleep in class, and even though it only lasted a few nights, the testing left Michael traumatized. The boy had learned empathy, but at what cost? He was broken now. So it's a little backstory on Michael, like his past. So yeah, this is going to be really all about Michael and Cece's character. If you want another character for me to talk about, can you please say it in the comments? Or even or it doesn't have to be like a character from this. It could be, another character from another fandom. Like Sally or something, or creepypasta characters, Just let me know. And I'll try to do some research and try to get some information. Angelina out. Bye.